We're Andrew and Ashley, living in the Arizona high desert, building our off-grid homestead from scratch, powering our cabin with solar, hauling water, and taking on every project that comes our way. Follow along as we share our wins, struggles, and adventures as we carve out life off the beaten path.
All right, so I'm going to get into some of the repairs we've been working on for the Bronco. So a little backstory. Back when we got the camper trailer over there, we used the Bronco to tow it onto the property. And there's a section of dirt road that's kind of steep and pretty rocky, right? So I put the Bronco into 4 low. Just to, make sure I had that power to get up and down this rocky area. And when I cleared that rocky area and got back to just the normal dirt road, the truck was stuck in 4 low. And wouldn't shift out of gear. I was able to manually put it into 2-wheel drive. So I got it out of 4 low, went on a test drive, and it was shifting just really hard, like just getting out of first gear. The RPMs would get really high, like 2,500 RPM. I'd have to let off the throttle, then the truck would shift like real hard, and then from second to third, it wasn't as hard of a shift, but it was still like you get that kick. Come to find out, because the vehicle's not registering the speed, it doesn't know when to shift, it doesn't know when to do things, because it's not getting that signal from the vehicle speed sensor. Then I realized that the speedometer and odometer were not registering. They weren't working at all. So after doing some research, it thought maybe it wasn't working due to the vehicle speed sensor located in the rear diff. It wasn't getting that signal, so I swapped that out. Still wasn't getting anything. So what I ended up doing is replacing the transfer case shift motor, which is right there. You can kind of see it looks new. Swapped that out. Thought that might be an issue. It was still not responding. Still was not shifting. Turns out there was just a blown fuse. I had checked the fuses. They were all intact underneath the dash, under the hood. All the fuses were intact. Everything was fine. Ended up tracing it back down to an ignition fuse, something within the ignition system. There was a blown fuse, just a 10 amp fuse. Swapped that out, and now the gauge cluster is now registering. But I did quite a bit of tear down inside here. You can see I removed the whole gauge cluster. That's also because in my research, going through forums and Google and all these things, it was saying that the vehicle speed sensor then sends the signal to the back of the speedometer, and maybe it wasn't registering it. So I had the multimeter testing, seeing if the gauge cluster was getting power, things like that, just trying to diagnose and find where the issue was coming from. So I did quite a bit of tear down to the dash and stuff, just trying to track down the issue. When I finally traced it back to some ignition stuff, it ended up being just a blown fuse. Now these are my aftermarket ignition setup I did. I don't have a standard just key ignition in my Bronco. I have, I created my own touch buttons, I guess, little push buttons for accessory and ignition and the starter. But we got it figured out. Okay, swap the fuse out, and now the odometer is reading my miles, or how many miles are on the vehicle, showed up, because mine is a digital one. And so now I'm going to put everything back together and drive it, and hopefully the speedometer starts to register, and if so, we should be good. So I'm hoping now the shifting will be better, and basically we got our Bronco back, which is good because we haul all our water in. We go to, the store for groceries. We have to go haul in our drinking water. And then obviously with Ashley being pregnant, we have a lot of doctor visits, doing a lot of checkups, ultrasounds, things like that. So we need to be able to get to and from town pretty regularly now. So we needed a vehicle. I needed to jump on something and fix one of the vehicles. So we're getting the Bronco going again. So yeah, along with all the other things that have been going on as far as like vehicles, it's definitely been a struggle, I'm not the greatest mechanic, I'll admit that. I'm not real great at diagnosing issues and stuff like that. I can remove an external part and swap it out, like that shift motor. Easy stuff, bolt on, unplug, bolt it back in. Basic mechanic stuff I can do, oil changes and stuff with my vehicles. I know my vehicles, I don't know everything. I've never worked at a mechanic shop. I'm more of a welder fabricator. That's the trade that I went down. But, I like to wrench and tinker with my vehicles, just like a hobby of mine. Unfortunately for the Super Duty, it's a diesel. I know nothing about diesels. I've never owned a diesel. That's a whole nother area I'm just unfamiliar with. So I'm gonna push forward and start putting all this back together. I have it jacked up right here in the rear because I was testing that vehicle speed sensor. I was trying to test it and see if it registers and is getting the signal. So I gotta get it back on all four wheels, and yeah, check some fluids, make sure there's oil and all that kind of stuff, and then go do a test drive. So I'm gonna start putting this thing back together. Okay, so truck is all put back together, looking better. It's funny, the gauge cluster looks way cleaner because I like disassembled the whole gauge cluster and wiped it all down, so it almost looks like kind of new. But yes, so a little bit of info about my Bronco here. I originally built this Bronco to go on like light trails and like find camping spots. This was going to be like my overlanding camping rig. That's why I bought this truck. I never really intended to haul anything with this and do that kind of stuff. I bought this truck back in 2019 and I've just been working on it, fixing it up. It's kind of just like my weekend fun vehicle. Then turned into my everyday daily driver. And now, since we moved here off grid, I've used it to haul water, haul all of our stuff out here. So this thing has actually put in a lot of work and it's been really good. The motor has been fine. It's the factory original 5.8 engine, and it's been fine. The biggest issue I've had with this truck has always been the transmission overheating, leaking oil, things like that. That's really the only issues I ever run into with the truck. So as far as the issues with it that we were just having, again, it was stuck in 4 low, got it out. It's now fine. I put the new shift motor on it. It seems to be going in and out of 4-wheel drive fine. So some things that I've done to it is I built this center console right here. It's super dirty and the truck is dirty, and whatever, so ignore that. But I removed the shifter column, which is usually right here, so you can put it into, you know, drive or reverse, and I had this one installed. Touchscreen TV monitor deal right there. Transmission temperature gauge right there. This is my accessory, and this is ignition, turns the fuel pump on and all that. And then I just rigged up a momentary switch right here, which is my to cranks the starter. So just some small things that I've done to it. Let's go under the hood real quick. Let's see. Okay, here we go. So under the hood, I've done just some of your basic aftermarket bolt-ons. For the most part, the motor internally is factory, but I've got the K&N intake. I have the BBK throttle body, Jet Performance throttle body spacer. I have an upgraded aluminum radiator. What else did I do to this thing under here? Some ignition stuff, you know, different wires, spark plug wires. And that's really it. Nothing too crazy. I upgraded the steering box, red head steering, a much heavier duty steering box. The steering shaft, I believe it's the Borgeson steering shaft. If you have a Bronco, you know that these things just have a very loose front end. I've updated the whole drag links, tie rods, all of that stuff too, and there was still just a lot of slop in the steering wheel, so I upgraded the steering box, the steering shaft, all of that stuff to try to help stiffen up the steering of it. As far as suspension, I just did a 4-inch coil spring, so it's still kind of like a stock suspension, it's just a little taller. And then I put, these are 315 17s, I believe, and it's pretty tight. I ended up actually coming in here trimming the front bumper, and because at first the bumper came to like way over here, and yeah, it did not clear the tires, so I kind of shaved the front bumper down, and I have clearance now. It doesn't rub. For the rear, all I did was put in the bigger shock absorbers. So I'm running the factory leaf springs right now, and I've got, yeah, that what is it, Bilstein shock absorbers. Let's crawl under here really fast. Ugh. So the Bilstein shock absorbers. So another thing I did under here is I relocated the upper shock mount. So I made this little shock tower, I guess, whatever you want to call it. And that's because I didn't want to lift the back of the Bronco 4 inches. Because I kind of like the stance where the front of the truck is just sitting up a little bit higher than the rear. That's just what I like. And normally when you run these shocks, these are for a 4-inch lift, and you're supposed to put spacers under the leaf spring to give you that extra clearance. So instead I just removed the shock tower and raised it up, and they work great. They work fine. I've also upgraded the bump stops right here, so these kind of collapse and give you more cushion when you know, hit a pothole or whatever like that. I want to do this to the front. I haven't done that yet. Ugh. So fix my hat. So with that being said, this is just, again, you know, it was my weekend fun vehicle. I've done quite a few solo camping trips, you know, little just light off-roading, nothing crazy. And it's been great. I do have a spare tire, full-size spare, that is normally here, but I think the bumpy road and the weight of it is starting to break my tailgate right here. You can see it's peeling. So I've removed it and I'm just going to keep it inside. I'll probably remove the rack as well. I need to get the rack built into the bumper. I've seen there's a couple companies that make them, or you know, maybe I could fab one up, but that's later on. Overall, I love my Bronco. I've always wanted one since high school. When I was in high school, I actually had a 93 F-150, so it's pretty much the same truck, only it has a bed. You know, it's not a SUV like this, but the motor, the drivetrain, all of that is the same. So that's kind of why I know the Bronco so well, is because back in the day I had the F-150. But that's just a little bit about my Bronco, you know. Trying to get our vehicles to a point where they're reliable is difficult, because, you know, living out here off grid, it's a lot of abuse on the vehicles. So you really do have to upgrade things, you know, suspension, the tires are always going flat. Luckily, we have not had any flat tires on the Bronco. Knock on wood, knock on wood for that, you know. These BF Goodrich all-terrains KO2s are the bomb out here. These are actually the E-load rating tires, so they're a thicker wall thickness. We actually put new tires on the Super Duty as well, and yep, we went straight to BFGs again. These are actually the F-load rating, so these are like a 12 ply thickness, so these are super thick. And yeah, flat tires is just a constant battle out here. It's one of the reasons why we don't have Ashley's Jeep out here, just because she has got, I think, about 4 flat tires. So yeah, it's been a struggle. And out here, it's just, you know, you can't just like call AAA or something and be like, hey, you know, come pick up my car and take it to the mechanic. You know, like, you're stuck back here. You're kind of stuck, you know. And getting parts is not easy. It's at least you know, 3-hour mission just to get to the part store, which is, again, hard if both vehicles are down. It's like, how the hell do we do that? But we got her going. Got her going again. She's back in commission. We're gonna be putting her back to work, and yeah. Leave a comment down below. Do you guys have a Ford Bronco? Do you like them? Do you not? I know there's always that love-hate relationship with Ford. You know, definitely the Dodge and Chevy guys don't like Ford. Yeah, let me know what you think. You like the truck? You don't like it? Let us know. Also, subscribe if you are not subscribed. Put a thumbs up. It really helps us. It helps the channel. That's the best way to support us, is just give us a thumbs up on our videos. Leave us a comment, even if it's just like an emoji thumbs up or something like that. It just helps the YouTube algorithm and helps other people find our videos. So we really appreciate all the support from you guys. And yeah, this is just another day out here. As you can see behind me, these clouds are rolling in. We had a couple hits of thunder. No lightning yet, but we're hearing some thunder. So I think I'm gonna be calling it a day, and we'll keep you updated on how everything is going, and we'll catch you in the next video.